All right, we are now recording. Welcome to my basement, by the way. This is my new office. I told Steve Moyer the other day that I'm trying to emulate the Leawood office with the industrial look. I'm in our unfinished basement here. All right, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Hopefully you can all see this. There is an option in Zoom for you to, I'm trying to get something moved out of the middle of my screen here. There is an option for you to raise your hand, or you can unmute, ask questions, or you can type it in the chat. Whatever is easier for you. It should notify me if I've got any anybody that has questions. But like I said, please keep yourself muted unless you have questions, and then feel free to unmute yourself. I want this to be as interactive as it possibly can be, even though we're not together. Welcome to Easy Gmail Tips and Tricks. I am going to walk you through some of the things that I use in Gmail to help keep me organized and help keep my inbox from being out of control, which it kind of is right now. I need to do some organization here why I can, but I'm going to show you some ways that really kind of go above and beyond just using Gmail to send and receive emails. So first, I want to show you where some of the resources that I'm going to talk about today. We've got a great resource page that is available to you with some really good how-to stuff. I'm in bhgeniuskch.com right now. I'm going to show you how you can access this. Over on resources in the top right, there is if you hover over resources, you'll get a drop down that says class resource links. You can also access this right down here in the kind of the reddish plug at the resource corner. So I'm going to click there. And if you go to class resources, there is a tile here for G Suite, the G Suite Information Hub. And this is going to take you to KCH Agent. And there's some great cheat sheets in here, not just for Gmail, but also for Drive. For using the team drive, for using forms, Keep, Calendar, and then down below are a whole bunch of really good tutorials on some of the stuff that we're gonna talk about today. Also back here, I'm going back to BH Genius right now, there is under the video learning, there is, hold on just a second. Okay, under video learning, there is a couple of videos down right now. These are posted, and I apologize. We're working on getting these organized by topic. Right now I'm putting them in as they're recorded. So here are the classes from yesterday, but if you scroll down here, here's a great, we're going to talk about putting an HTML signature in Gmail today. Here's a great video on how you can create one of those. It's easy to follow along, and it gives you a website right here, a free website resource to do an HTML signature. Down here is a really good video on, we're going to talk about this somewhat today. I'm not going to dive too deep in this, but it's a great how-to on using filters inside Gmail. That's one of the things that I'm going to show you today that's really a great tool to help keep your inbox organized. So those are some resources you have available to you. And then again, I am recording this so you can go back and watch this. It'll be put on this page here on the BH Genius site. Again, this was found up in resources and then under video learning. All right, so let's head over to Gmail. You get to see my disastrous inbox right now. It's a little crazy, but I want to just give you a quick tour. You all know the basic functionality of Gmail. You know how to send emails, but I want to show you some bells and whistles inside of Gmail that might help you just be a little bit more efficient. So my Gmail is probably set up a little bit different than yours, or it could look a little bit different than yours. I'm going to go into settings here in a second and show you how to set up just some general things that allow you to customize your screen in Gmail so you can really see the things that you want to see and not necessarily get bogged down with some of the features and functions that they have. So the first place we're going to start here is in settings, and you get to settings right underneath the Kansas City Homes. You've got your picture up here, so you know you're logged into Kansas City Homes. Right underneath that is the settings tab. So I'm going to click into settings. And in settings, we've got different options here at the top, different tabs, so to speak. Right now I'm in general, which is where I want you to stay. Hold on just a second here.
Oh, come on.
Okay, so in settings, I want to point out a couple of things here. We're going to talk about how you undo send. I don't know if that's an option that you all know exists, but after you send an email, you get a little pop-up that says message sent, and then there's and I'm going to show you this live. There's an option to undo your send. And right here in settings is where you can set how long you want that option to be available. I have it set for 30 seconds, which is actually pretty long. I think the default on this is 5 or 10 seconds. I like having that option for 30 seconds. If I send an email and all of a sudden realize that I didn't put somebody else on it that needed to be on it, or didn't have an attachment, forgot to do the attachment, I can recall that email up to 30 seconds, undo it, and make sure that it's correct before I send it out. Default behavior, this is where you can set when you're in your inbox. I'm going to show you. Once that tab opens, go back to my inbox here on this tab. Your default, let me get down here to an email that, we'll pull up Annie's email here. Right here, the reply, if you have this setting defaulted to reply all, which mine is defaulted to reply all, your reply button up here is going to automatically reply all. Depending on what you normally do and how you're normally replying to emails, you might want to set that default so it makes sense for how you work. If you don't want to reply all and you've got this default setting, let me go to an email where I could reply all. Let me find one that I know has multiple recipients on it. That one does not. This one does. So this is, my default right here is reply all. So if I don't want to reply all, I've got to click on the more and just hit reply to just reply to Amy here. So that's where you have this setting over here, and you can decide how you want that button defaulted, which is nice. There's some things on here I'm going to skip. We're not going through every setting. I'm just going to show you kind of the highlights here. Autocorrect, I always have that selected as on. I suggest you do the same. Smart Compose. This is something that Gmail launched a little bit over a year ago. And this is where when you start typing, and as Gmail learns your behaviors, it gets smarter and smarter. So as you're typing a response or you're typing an email to somebody, some of you might already have this turned on and didn't realize it, but it'll auto-complete sentences for you, which is really nice. It'll predict what you're going to say. I have that turned on because I find it really, really useful. Saves me just a couple of seconds, but it's nice. Conversation view, I want to talk about this real quick. Right now, I have conversation view turned off. The default to this is to have it turned on. What happens when you turn this on is if you have a group email and the responses are all going to nest under one line in your inbox, versus if you send out an email to 10 people and as they respond to you, you want those to show up on separate lines. You want the conversation view turned off. I'm going to turn it on for a second and show you the difference in my inbox. So this is my inbox right now with conversation view turned off. Everything comes back in a single email to me. If I turn this on, I've got to go down here to the bottom and hit save changes. Now all of a sudden I've got stuff grouped together. I don't like having things grouped together in my inbox. I like individual emails to come through. It's easier for me to see it. It's easier for me to respond. I find I don't miss emails as often if I have that conversation view turned off. Go back over here to settings. I'm going to turn that back to off before I forget. The nudges, you saw when we were over in my inbox that there was a, Let me go back over here. There was a nudge here. See this right here? Received 3 days ago. Do you want to reply? That's a nudge. I have that turned on right now. In case I forget to respond to an important email, something, it'll nudge me to tell me, hey, you haven't responded to this. Do you need to respond to it? It's not going to do that for every email you receive. Gmail kind of tracks your usage and what you're doing. And it learns your behavior. So it'll nudge things where you're usually pretty quick to respond. If you don't respond to an email, it'll nudge and ask, gosh, you've gotten this email. It's been sitting here. Do you want to respond? A couple other things that I want to show you while we're in just general settings here is this is where you can put your picture, my picture. I recommend you put a picture in here. That way when your emails pop up to clients, it pops up to other people, vendors, etc. You've got a picture and it really kind of separates your email from others. So this is where you put in your picture. And then down here is where you put in your email signature. So I've got an email signature in here right now. If you go through the video, how to create an HTML signature, I walk you through how to create one and then get it over into Gmail here. I recommend you have the same email signature in Gmail that you have in HomeSuite, that you have in any other platform where you're sending emails out to either clients, consumers, other agents. That way you really create consistency with your marketing and with your branding. The last thing that I'll touch on here in settings is your vacation responder. It sits at the very bottom of the general settings tab. And this will allow you to turn on and off your vacation responder. So if you're going to be out of the office, somebody else is backing up your business, you can turn this on, pick the dates, type in the subject that you want the response to have, and then type in your message here. Down here, it gives you the option to only send this response to people in your contacts, or only send the response to people within our company. So typically I leave those off. I want my vacation responder sent to everybody that sends me an email. I don't want to miss anybody. Once you make any changes on here, you want to make sure at the very bottom that you hit Save Changes. And once you hit Save Changes, it'll pop you back to your inbox. So let's talk real quick about when you're inside of an email, some different functionality that you have. Actually, before I go there, I apologize. I'm going to stay out here in inbox real quick and show you some different functionality that you have. And again, I apologize. My inbox is a disaster right now. Excuse me. As you hover your mouse over emails, you'll notice over here on the right-hand side that some options come up for you. They're just kind of quick little shortcuts. This first one will archive an email. It's not trash. What it's doing is taking it out of your inbox. If you ever search for this, this person, this contact, it'll still come up. It's just moving it out of your inbox. The next one is delete. Delete will be in your trash for 30 days. After 30 days, it automatically will delete permanently. So if you accidentally delete something, know that it's still sitting there for 30 days for you to pull back out. The next icon here is to mark this as read. So if I can preview this and see that she said thank you here, I don't want this to show up anymore that I have a new email, I can hit mark as read and then it won't be highlighted in bold for me. The next option here is a snooze option. This will allow you, this is awesome, I use this all the time. If I get an email and they say, it's Wednesday, I need a response by Friday, I don't have time to respond, I can hit this snooze and I can snooze it till later today, tomorrow, I can pick a date and time. And what will happen is if I pick later today at 6 p.m., at 6 p.m. tonight, this email is going to pop right back up to the top of my inbox. Really nice feature, especially when you're on the go. This feature works in your app as well in Gmail. If you get an email, you're afraid when you get back to the office that you're going to forget about it, hit that snooze button. And then it'll pop right back up in your inbox at a date and time that you choose. Any questions about that? I feel like I'm moving pretty fast here. I'll pause and see if you have any questions about what I just went over or what I went over in settings. Anybody have questions? Let me move this out of the way here so I can get in chat. Looks like I've got a question here in chat. Emily, I'm not sure if all this functionality that I'm teaching right now would apply if you're using something like MacMail or you're using Outlook. A lot of what I'm talking about today is just going to be functionality inside the online edition of Gmail. Some of it, I'm guessing, will apply to what you'll see in Outlook or MacMail, for example. So where do you find the deleted emails? Right over here on the side, if I take my mouse and I come over here on the side, I'll get all of these options. We're going to talk about these. But you scroll all the way down, hit more down here. And all of this depends on how you have your view set up on your Gmail. But at the very bottom, right here is trash. So if I click on trash, this is everything that is sitting inside of my trash. And up here at the top, it tells you that it automatically deletes after 30 days. If you want to empty now, you can. But if you want to get this back into your inbox, you can click on it here. And then up here, if I want to change the label, oh, let me look here. There used to be an option right up here. They've changed this. Let's see if it's on this screen for me. I'll have to look for this and figure out how to get it back in. Oh, there it is right there, move to. So if I click on it and hit this move to, I can move it back to my inbox if I've accidentally deleted it. But that's where you find your deleted. It's going to be over here on your left-hand navigation. Depending on how you have your settings or view set up, you'll likely have to come down and hit more and then scroll down to see it. Another thing that I want to show, if you've got questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm watching the chat and can stop and answer questions as we go along here, or you can unmute yourself and ask questions that way too. A couple other functionality things that I want to show you just on the main screen here. If I start selecting checking emails, it brings up some options up here that are similar. It's more expanded than what you get if you just hover, and what I was showing you over here on the right-hand side. I believe, yes, Jamie, you can just drag from trash to inbox. I'll show you just a second where you find your archived. So if I select a couple of emails here, you'll notice as I unselect, these options up at the top go away. As you have emails selected, it brings up options for you. This first box is a way to select all. If I want to delete everything, I can select all here. It'll select everything on this page. If I want to mark all of these as read, I can do that. Unread, I can star all of these. We're going to talk about starring and then unstarring. Next option is to archive. This should look familiar. Next option is to report as spam. Delete, mark as read. You've got your snooze button here. The move to, if you want to move them all to a different label or a different folder, you can. We're going to talk about labels here in just a minute, but here's where you would find your labels option. And then this gives you some more options here. We're going to talk about some of these as we move further along here in the class. But you won't have these options up here until you start selecting emails. So if I don't have anything selected, that's going to be pretty blank up there. I do want to point out that in your settings, you have the option for Gmail to sort emails for you as they're coming into your inbox. So they have some predetermined filters. This is my primary inbox. Social, this is empty. I keep this deleted, otherwise it gets out of control. Anything that comes in from LinkedIn, from Facebook, from any social platforms that I have tied to this email account, Gmail does a really good job of coming and filtering them into your social box here, which is kind of nice. That way they don't clog up your inbox. Promotions, this is out of control in my inbox, but Gmail does a great job of sorting anything that comes through from vendors that I've signed up for. We've got my DSW stuff in here, you know, Pottery Barn, anything that comes across that looks like it's, you know, kind of a sales and marketing type email is going to be sorted right here into promotions, which is nice. I usually don't delete all of these. If I'm out shopping and I want to look for a coupon, if I'm at DSW, I'm like, oh, I got that email that I've got $10 off. I can come in here and search up here for DSW. I can do this on my phone as well. And it'll bring up every email that I've ever received from DSW. The great thing about this, these aren't clogging up my inbox. They're all sitting in this promotions tab that I rarely ever click on, but I preserve them. Updates, this is another way that it filters, and then forums. I can set up my own filters as well, which we're going to talk about, but these are the defaults that Gmail has set up for you. Note that oftentimes there's things that come through in forums or in updates that I really want over in primary, and I can move those over if I want to. To relabel these, I can come in here. We'll go to this email and I can do this move to, and I want this move to my primary. Oop, it's not going to let me do it from there. If you mark this as important, it will move it over to your primary. Anybody have questions on those filters that Gmail creates for you? I will show you over in settings how you manage those. Let me answer one of the questions real quick that came through on chat, and that is, where do you find your archived email? So again, over here on the side, if you go down to more, there is an archived. Oh, hold on just a second. Where the heck is it? That's great. I'm going to have to do some research on where you find archive. I know if I search for it, for example, if I archive this email, and then if I go in and search for Laura, that email will still come up right here. So I don't archive a whole lot of emails. I put them into labels and then I archive them, which we're going to talk about here in just a second. But I don't see an option over here unless I'm missing something. If somebody else sees it as I'm scrolling, let me know. But I don't see anything over here that actually pulls up all of your archived. Any other questions that you all have at this point on what I've covered so far? It very well could just be, the archive could just be an all mail. I typically will assign them to labels before I archive them, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a few minutes. So let's get into an email real quick, and let me show you some functionality when you're inside of emails. So I'm going to hit the compose button up here. We're just going to go into a new email. If I want this to pop out and go full screen, you click this little arrow, the two arrows out right here. If I want to minimize this, I can minimize this right here and then pop it right back up. I'm going to close that real quick. Down here at the bottom, you have some options down here that are pretty handy when you're composing. To format the text, you click right here and it brings up some format options for you where you can bullet things, you can number things, you can do indent. This right here will change the size. You can't change your font size here, but you can change it to some default. So if you want it to be small, it'll default here to normal. But if you want to really emphasize something and want it to be large, you can do that. I never use huge, but that's certainly an option for you. The next thing here is attaching files. I'm sure you're all familiar with how to do this, but you click the little paper clip and then you can select the file that you want to attach from your computer. The next button here, let me get the text off of there, is a link button. So if I'm sending an email to you all and I want to give you the link to BHGenius, kch.com, and I want this when it's emailed out to appear as a link, I'm going to highlight the text and then hit this little link button right here, and it's going to insert a link. So now that text has just become a live link. So when this email comes to you, you can click on it and go through to the website. But that's how you do that. If you want to, if you're sending an email to a client and you want to link your website, you want to link vendor websites, their inspection report, you know, whatever, that's how you would do that. The next one here is to insert emojis in your email. You can click on that and it brings up some options for you. I don't use that very often, but it's there for you. The next option here is to insert files using Google Drive. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time here. I am doing a session on Monday morning about using Drive to really enhance your efficiency. But from here, you can insert, instead of doing the attached files, you can insert directly from Google Drive right here. So if you have something in Google Drive that you want to attach, you click this little triangle button, and here it brings up all of your files that are in Google Drive. Let's find something, we'll attach that one, and I can either hit insert or I can attach a link so they can access, so whoever's getting this can access this in Drive versus it being sent as an attachment. So again, I'm going to go through this in a lot more detail in the Drive class on Monday, how to use all this, but know that it is an option for you when you're inside Gmail to attach directly from Drive. If you don't have FileStream, you can, and you've got things saved in Drive, you don't have to download them and then attach them. You can do it directly from Drive right here. Any questions on that? The next one over here, I'm gonna show you, this is inserting photos. So if you're sending out a marketing blast and you want the, you know, the picture or the flyer or the content to come up in the body of the email versus it being attachment, this is how you would do that. Right here is insert photo. So let's click on this and it's gonna bring up some options for me. This is my photos that I have in Drive. I just have one. I can go to albums, or I can go to upload. If it's something that's saved on my computer, let's say it's a flyer, it's saved on my computer, I would go to this little upload tab and hit choose photo to upload. And then I have no idea what this is going to be, but let's just bring it up. I'd find the photo on my computer. Actually, I know what photo we'll do. We'll do this one. And I hit open and it's going to upload it for me. And it's going to put it right into the body of the email. If I click on the photo, I can drag the corners and I can make it smaller, I can make it bigger. It also gives me some options right down here for sizing. If I want to remove it, I can. If I don't like how it looks, I can do that. But this is really, if you're sending out flyer blasts for open houses, for tours, new listings, instead of sending it as an attachment, you want it to be in the body so it's there right when they open the email. That's how you would do it. Again, you click on the insert photo. Wherever your cursor is up here is where it's going to insert. So insert photo, go to upload, choose the photo. I'm not going to choose anything again, and then it would insert. Right down here, it gives you the option. You see right here, the inline or as an attachment. I had inline selected. That's how you get it to show up right in the body versus being an attachment. If you want the picture or want the content to show up as an attachment, click attach as attachment before you upload. And then when it uploads, it'll upload as an attachment. So I'll show you the difference. I had inline selected before when I did this picture. If I click attachments, choose photo, there's my photo that I want, open. It's now attaching the document versus it being inline. Does that make sense? Everybody with me? If you've got questions, let me know. Thank you, Carol. I will tell you, it's really hard to teach this way when you don't see people or hear people. So just want to pause and make sure everybody is still doing good. Anybody have questions about those options? There's one other that well, there's two other that I'm going to show you here before we move on. So I'll show you those and then I'll watch the chat screen. If you've got questions, feel free to put them in there. This option right here is to turn confidential mode off and on. I've never used this. This will automatically delete your email after a certain amount of time if they don't read it. And you can also require a passcode for them to read your email. I really don't have a need to use that, but it's there if you want it. Thanks, Eileen. Okay, one other place that I want to show you here is the more options. It's kind of hidden over here by the trash can. There's your trash can, but your more options here. So I'm going to show you real quick. This is kind of a next level thing, but I have a lot of emails that I type frequently. I have stuff that I'm sending not just to clients, but also to agents after I do classes. And I don't want to have to sit down and retype the same email over and over. I also don't like having to go to my sent email and trying to search for this email and then copy it and paste it. There is a way in Gmail to save some templates. And I go through a lot of these templates in the Above and Beyond Customer Service series classes, but I'm going to show you in Gmail how you can save emails as templates. So if I want to save this email as a template, if this is something that I'm going to send out often, I click on this More button over here by the trash can, and under Templates here, you see my long list of templates that I have saved. You won't have anything in this list if you've not done templates. But right here, I can save draft as a template and then save as a new template. And then it'll allow me to name this. We're just going to do test template. Let me show you an example of, like a real life example of one of these templates here. Let me get rid of this stuff. Pull up a template. This is my buyer finish line email that I send out to buyers about 2 weeks before closing, just to give them kind of a to-do list here. You might not, we've had a question here in the chat, you might not have templates turned on in your settings. If I've got time during class, I'll show you where those are. If not, I can connect with you afterwards and show you where those show up. So in templates here, if I click on this template, this is one I've already saved, it pulls up this full email for me. Now I don't have to retype all of this stuff. All I'm doing now is going in and changing some of the verbiage in here, like where we're closing, some of the utilities, but it brings up everything that I want included in this versus me having to go to my sent email, try to find the last time I sent my buyer finish line email, what did I name it? These are really, really handy shortcuts to use inside of Gmail. I'm going to close that and show you again how you get there. So if you've got your email typed up here, you click on the 3 dots over here and you hover on templates, and then you're going to save your draft, whatever content you've typed up in here. You want to save it as a draft, save as new template. And then once you have your template saved to use those, you open up a new email. Same process, you click on these 3 dots, you go to templates, and then you can select one of these. Here's my test template that I did a few minutes ago. And there's this template. It will insert 2 email signatures for you. I recommend when you save your template, delete your email signature before you save the template. That way you don't get the duplication then once you go and try to send this at a later time. Is everybody good on templates? Did that help? Thank you, Patricia, for putting in the how to find or how to turn on templates. I will show everybody that real quick, just for the benefit of the group. Right up here, let's go back into settings. I'm up here in the upper right. And I'm going to click on settings here. And then I showed you earlier, we spent some time earlier in the general. It's in advanced. So all of these are different options for you. Over here is advanced. And then you have to enable templates. So if you pull up those three little dots and you don't get templates in this drop down, it's because you have not enabled those on your settings. So you want to go to your settings, go to the advanced tab, and make sure you've clicked enabled on your advanced settings. I'll tell you real quick while we're in here, the other thing, and I'll get to your question, Mickey, in just a second. The other thing that I disabled that drove me nuts is I don't like having, I've got it here now because we're using this chat a lot to communicate since we're all working from home. But I typically don't like having this big chat screen over here on the left-hand side. I'm going to enable this and show you what it looks like. Don't forget, you've got to save changes. Now all of a sudden it'll load here in just a second. I've got chat sitting right here and I don't want it there. I want it buried down here underneath all of this stuff. This is precious space up here to me. I don't like it sitting up here because I don't use it very often. So to get rid of it up here, this is the default. This is probably what your screen looks like. To get it out of there, you go to settings and it lives on that advanced tab. And it's the right side chat I'm going to disable. And that moves the chat away from up here, and it's going to put it right down here for me. Carol, I'll show you in just a second in our back to in settings how you get the promotion. So all that up across the top. Is that better on the sound, Sudi? I'm using a headset because my husband was down here in the basement. It was really loud. Okay, perfect. Mickey, absolutely willing to share the templates that I have. A lot of them are in, if you go to, I'll show you where those live real quick. In the, let's see, I've got them in Genius under resources, class resource links. I know I've got them in here. Hold on just a second. Maybe I haven't put them in here yet. I've not put them in here yet. I will get those on there today. They are in shared drives for everybody. Again, if this screen looks really foreign to you, take the drive class on Monday because I'm going to go through this. But in your shared drives, I'm in Google Drive. Under shared drives, agent training. This is where I'm dumping all of my marketing stuff or all of my training stuff. And there is a full folder in here of all of my time-saving templates. So these are my templates. I need to dump all the buyer ones in here. I started doing this last week and got distracted. These are all my templates for sellers. But here's the template that I use for the sellers for their final steps email. So you can take this and copy it and put it right into your Gmail templates. But that's where all the templates are right now. I'll get a link up on BH Genius under the class resources as well to give you a shortcut. Oh, glad. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know on the sound. Exactly. Damn husbands. He decided he needed to come down here for a workout. And I'm like, I'm trying to teach a class. Love this working from home. It's a whole new adjustment here. Let me scroll back up here. I know there was another question that I didn't get answered, I think. Oh, Carol asked, how do you get the promotion, social, all of these across the top? We're going to go back into settings here. And I believe it's under label. It is under labels. So we were at general at the very beginning of class. We've been to advanced way over here. I'm going to click in labels. We're going in depth in labels here in just a second. These are the system labels, inbox, starred, snooze. Down here are categories. This is where you enable those categories that I have across my inbox. So the social promotions updates, all of these across the top, this is where you would either enable those or you can disable those. So right here in message list, I have all of these as shown. So go in here and see what you have. And if you want those to appear across the top, you've got to go in here and tell your Gmail what you want to show, what you want to hide. Hopefully that helped answer your question. Looks like we've got some new questions here. All right, let's see. Paula asked if using the templates, is there a way to modify? I'm trying to get those put into the resources in documents instead of in PDFs, but you can't open the PDF, and then most of the viewers that you have for PDF will actually allow you to copy the text that's on them. But bear with me while I try to get all of these templates put into a format that is a little bit easier for you to take and edit. But you're welcome to use them as they are. You're going to want to personalize them, but you're welcome to do that. Okay, let's talk about labels, unless anybody has any other questions. If so, put in that chat. If not, I am going to dive into labels and how I use labels and filters to really keep myself organized. Okay, I don't see anything coming across the chat, but I'll continue to look at it. Okay, so let's talk about labels and what that means. I know a lot of you came from other mail platforms like Outlook, and you're used to folders. I want you to think of labels as you would think of folders. So Gmail allows you to organize things. Instead of using folders, it allows you to use labels. So let's go back to my inbox here. So right over here on the side, you saw this huge long list of things. These are all of the labels that I have created. Think of these again as folders. Underneath these, like as the training one, the reason I put the number 1 on here is because I want this right up at the top for me, versus it being in alphabetical order. It'll bury it way down here where I can't see it. I like having that one right at the top, which is why I put a number 1 on it. You can have sub-labels under your labels, just as you would have sub-labels under, or subfolders under folders. Okay, so I've got my training folder, and then I've got all of these sub-labels. So if I click on this, let's go to my continuing education one. This is everything that's come through my inbox that's been labeled with continuing education. And this tells me right here where this email is sitting. The ones that don't have inbox are ones that I've archived, or they're sitting in sent emails. You can see here, if I click on the label, I clicked on the label training, the tag over here is green. When these emails come through in my inbox, they also have a little green flag for me that tells me what they're labeled with. And you set, that's going a little advanced, but you set that up in filters, which we're going to talk about. But with labels, labels are really like your folders. The great thing about labels, unlike folders, with labels, you can label things with you can have multiple labels on them. In Outlook or in other mail platforms, once you put it into a folder, it's stuck in that folder. In Gmail, I can have something sitting in my inbox, but it's also sitting underneath a label. I know that probably is a little confusing, but think of labels as folders, but you can have as many labels on an email as you possibly want to. A label is a really quick and easy shortcut for you to sort, slice and dice your emails, get to the emails that you need, versus having everything sitting in your inbox and having to sort through that. You'll now see in my inbox here, I'll point this out to you, and some of you might have noticed it before, that some of these emails have these little blue, this one says NARLA on it. This one is training and brokers. I have set up filters, so when certain emails hit my inbox, they're automatically tagged with a label. So I didn't have to do anything here. This email from Judy is sitting in my inbox. And then it's also sitting down here in NARLA. There's her same email sitting right there, and I didn't have to do anything. It's automatically happened when things come into my inbox by setting up filters. I have filters set up, labels, excuse me, set up for all of my active clients. So I've got one main label set up for active clients. And then under this, if I click this little arrow next to it, it's going to be a drop down. And here's all of my active clients that I have right now that have labels set up for them. Really quick and easy way for me to organize emails that are coming in for them. I'm going to show you now how you label emails, or how you get your emails into these labels. There's a couple of ways you can do it. Yes, Sudi, instead of rules, you do filters, and I'll get there in just a few minutes. Let me talk about how you get emails into labels. So if I want to, let's go back to my inbox here. If I want this email here to go into training, I can do a couple different things. I can click on it. Remember I told you when you click on it, you get all these options up here. This option right here is labels. So if I click on labels, it's going to show me all of the labels that I have set up, including my sub-labels. So I want this to go into training. Again, I can select multiple labels for this. I want to put it in all those different labels. It'll sit underneath all of those. I'm just going to put this in training, and I hit apply. It's still sitting in my inbox, but it's also now still sitting, it's now over here in training. I am not as crazy organized as I would like to be, but thank you. Appreciate the comment. The other way that you can get emails into the label is you can also drag them over. So I can take this and drag it over and put it into a label. When I'm in an email, I have this option as well right up here at the top, this label. From here, if I go into an email, we'll just go into David's email here. And I want to put this into a label, and I haven't created the label yet. Right down here, I've got the option to create new. So if I want to create a new label and say, emails from David Cooper. If I want this to be on my main list, so over here I've got, well, let me get out of here. Stop doing that. So over here, if I want this to be on my main list, I'm not going to select, I'm not going to nest it under anything. If I want this email, emails from David Cooper, if I want this to be in one of these drop downs, let's put him, I'm going to put him under training. If I want him to be right here under training, I would select this nest under, and I'm going to put him under training. Create. So now under here, under training, is my emails from David. If I want every single email that comes through from David Cooper to have this label, I'm going to show you how to do this. Sudi, this is how you set up your, not rules, but filters. So instead of going to filters here, or instead of going to labels here, I'm clicking on the 3 more dots. And I want to click on filter messages like these. Again, I've got a video on this on BH Genius, on the video resources, on just this part of this class on how to do this. So I'm going to create a filter that everything that comes through from this email address, the David C. at Kansas City Homes, I'm not filling out any of this stuff. That's the filter that I want to use. Down here, I'm going to hit Create Filter. And it's going to give me some options. What do I want to do with these when they come into my inbox? I can skip the inbox and archive it. Probably not smart for this one. I can mark them as read. I want to apply the label. Anything that comes through from David, I want to apply the label, emails from David. It's sitting right here underneath my training. You've got other options in here, and some of these you're going to use as you're creating your filters. I can forward it to, if you have a, if you're working on a team or you have an assistant, a transaction coordinator, and you need everything that comes through from your title company contact to also be forwarded to your transaction coordinator. Instead of having to manually forward emails, you can set up a filter to have that happen automatically. If you have emails that you get that you really don't want clogging up your inbox, for example, my Supra, when we get the payments that say your Supra bill has been paid, I don't need those clogging up my inbox. When I do those emails, I'll show you how I set up the filter on that. I hit skip the inbox and I apply the label, and I have a label set up. Sorry, I don't mean to make you sick. It's all the way down at the bottom. That is my tax receipts right here. So I don't need those clogging up my inbox, but I do need those emails when it's tax time. So I skip my inbox, I label it to my tax receipts and hit create filter. And now my inbox isn't bogged down by all these receipts that I'm getting from Supra. I'll show you in a second. Let me go back here. Hold on just a second. I see some things popping up here in chat. Let me finish doing, let me complete this filter for you. Okay, so I'm on my David Cooper emails. I'm going to apply the labels emails from David. I still want them to show up in my inbox. I don't want them to be, that's all I want to do is just label these when they come in. I select the box down here, apply filter to matching messages. This will apply the filter to everything backwards. If I don't select this, it's only going to start applying the filter from right now moving forward. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that and hit create filter. And let me go over here to my filter, emails from David. Oh, why did it do that to me? Now, every email that I've ever received from David Cooper is sitting here in this filter. Everyone that ever comes in from here forward is sitting here in this filter. Okay, let me pop over here to the chat and answer some questions. Yes, I could do, instead of one, I could do all training. It goes as far back as your email goes. So if you look up here, this is kind of embarrassing. I'm a digital hoarder. I have 18,509 emails in my inbox because I rarely delete stuff. And the reason that I rarely delete stuff is I have it all auto filtering for me. So I don't care that I have 18,000 emails in here. I spend a lot of my time over here in my labels so I can slice and dice my emails. But it goes as far back, to answer your question with the filters, it'll go as far back as your emails go. Let me show you real quick why we're talking about filters and labels. I'm going to show you how I use this for clients. So I have a transaction right now that's going on. Let me search here. I'm going to search for the address. So 14310 Ballantyne. you'll see as I search for that, these are all of the emails that have come through. And guess what? It's kind of a dark gray here, so it's hard to see. Every one of these has already been applied to a label automatically. So if I need to see all of the emails that pertain to this transaction, not just from the buyer, not just from the seller's email addresses, your co-op agents, I set these up with the property. I filter with the property address. That way I'll capture stuff that comes through from dotloop, from SkySlope, from the title company, from the lender, from the inspectors. I'll capture everything in here without having to touch anything in my inbox. The question was, if you delete out of the inbox, does it still remain in labels? No. If you delete, it deletes after 30 days. If you archive, it still stays in your label though. It goes out of your inbox, it still sits in your label. That's why I use archive more so than I would suggest using archive more so than delete. Sorry to interrupt what I was saying. Just wanted to get to that question before I move on here. So how do I set this up? So every email that comes through on a transaction is automatically filtered for me. I'm going to go back to my inbox here. I can either go and find an email that pertains to this property, or I can go over here to settings. And you'll notice a tab that we have not sat on or clicked on is the filters and blocked addresses. If I click on filters, this is every filter that I have ever set up. You'll notice that I have some property addresses on here with my client name. Carol, that's correct. Yes, you can move an email out of your inbox and just put it in the label if you want to. So these are all of the filters that I have set up in Gmail. It's a ton of them. Right down here is my 14310 Valentine. Here's a filter we just created with David Cooper. If I ever want to go in and change this, this is where I come. I come to settings and then the filters and blocked addresses tab. And then if I want to edit this filter, I can hit edit. If I want to delete it, I can delete. Let's create a new one. Create a new filter. So I'm going to create a new filter for a transaction. Let me pop over here and get the correct address. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Okay. So I'm not going to do a from. I'm not going to do a to. I'm not going to do the subject. I'm going to do, for every email that has the words 102, 10821, I put quotation marks around it. This is the house number. I don't put anything else in besides the house number. Typically, if I put the house number in, I will capture everything that comes through from a title company, a lender, the inspector. Typically, somewhere in their email or their subject, they use the property address. The reason that I do it this way versus doing the from is if I have, I do a lot of my title work through Security First and with Amy Both. And if I have the from set up as Amy Both and it goes into one client, she sends me emails all the time about different transactions, right? I don't want every one of her emails to go under one client. I want to make sure the right transaction is sorted under the right label. I hope that makes sense. So instead of using the from and using her email address, I use the property address. I will tell you a word of warning. For 4-digit property addresses, so if you have 1234 Main Street and you put 1234 in here, this will also pick up people's email signatures. So I put one in once and it was the admin at the Blue Valley office. It was also the last 4 digits of her phone number. So I realized real quick that every email she was sending me was also getting labeled. So I had to expand my filter to include some other information besides just the property address, just these numbers. So just word of warning on that. Typically, if you've got a 5-digit house number, it should work beautifully. So I put has the words, there's my house number. I don't mess with any of this other stuff. I hit create filter and it's going to bring up this pretty screen for me. And I want to apply the label. And we are going to do, we'll pretend like there's not a label set up. So I can either choose label, I'm going to do a new label. So I want to do Nelson by 2020. It's usually how I do my labels. I do the last name if it's a buy or sell, and then the year. And then I'm going to nest this under active clients. I'm actually going to do this how I normally do it. I do the year first. So there's my label I've just created. I'm putting it under active clients and I hit create. And then I check this box. I also want to apply this to any matching messages. So again, this goes backwards, anything that's already sitting in my inbox. You can already see behind me, behind this, here are all of the emails that are going to be filtered. So I want to apply it to anything backwards and I hit create. Make sure that I just hit create correctly. Okay, so here's this new filter right here. My 2020 Nelson Buy, it was just created. Click on this. Every email that's come through. Here's the listing agent. Here's somebody from the mortgage team. Oh, we've got the sewer inspection down here. I've got the inspection report. Everything that's associated with this transaction by just using the house number is now filtered. And every email that comes in from today through forever that has 10821 is going to be filtered. It's going to show up in my inbox, but it's also going to be sorted for me right under here. Yes, if I type 10821 into the search box, I would get the exact same result, but I'm trying to create a filter. I want everything past and future that has 10821 to be put in this label over here. So when the buyer calls me, when Mr. Nelson calls me 6 months from now and says, hey, Christian, can you send me a copy of that inspection report? I go over here to label. Every email that was associated with his transaction is sitting right here for me versus me having to go up here and search and find it. So that's something that I use that really helps to keep me organized and efficient. I'm going to show you, I know we're a little bit over on time, but I want to show you one other thing in Gmail that I use. It's a real easy one that I use to help keep me efficient, especially when we're out on the go and we're not necessarily sitting in front of our computers. As you all do, we get a lot of emails all the time. And when I'm on the go, I found that I'll sit there and look at my emails. And then by the time I get back to my computer, I have forgotten that I received an email or that I needed to respond to it immediately when I got back. What happens is you get back in front of your computer and you pull up your email and you start addressing the stuff right here at the top. We end up working top down when I've got some pretty important emails that came through that are down here, that this is really where I should be starting. So to help alleviate that, I use the stars. Right here, you're going to see that you've got stars. So if an email comes through and I need to make sure that this is, I don't have time to respond right now, this is a priority email for me, I need to respond to that, I click the star. I can do that on the phone app as well. So I use this a lot of times on the phone. I'm pulling up my phone app right now. I know you can't see it, but when you pull up Gmail on your phone, you'll notice on your inbox, as you pull up your email, right on the right of every single email, underneath the time that the email came through, now you're going to notice a little star. And if you click on that little star, I just clicked on a star that came through on my phone at 9:14 from Zoom. I'm going to show you now where, when I come to my, if I haven't sat down in front of my computer for a while, I come to my screen here. Instead of getting sucked into the emails that are at the top and working down, I go straight here. I go to starred. Here are the emails that I need to focus on. This Zoom one is the one that I just did on my phone. I really don't need to respond. Once I've responded to these, I really need to get in the habit, and I would suggest doing this. Unstar them. That way you know that you've addressed them. And it'll move it off of your starred. But this is a way to really help keep you efficient. As much as we're on the, I know we're not on the go a whole lot, you know, at the present moment. But when I'm out on the go or not in front of my computer for a long time, it's really easy when you get back to your email to pop up and just work top down. You end up forgetting about emails that you were going to respond to, important things. This is a way to really keep yourself organized and efficient when you come back in front of your computer. And oftentimes I use this when I'm sitting at my computer. If I see something that comes across, I'm in the middle of doing a training session or working on something else, I just hit the star and know that, okay, when I have time, that's where I start. That's my priorities. Okay. I know that we're over time. I know that I covered a whole lot of stuff. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to look over here at chat. And if you want to unmute yourselves and ask questions, have me walk back through something. If you've got questions about other things that I didn't cover inside of Gmail, I'll just kind of open up the floor and let you all ask some questions here, and I'll get to them here as they come in. So Carol just said, as an FYI to everybody, she uses Bluemail on her Android. So it's a little bit different than Stars. So Carol, does it still allow you on that to mark emails as important? Thank you, Sudi. I appreciate the comment. All right, anybody have any other questions here? Thank you, I appreciate the comments.